Good afternoon. We read in the Shema that we should discuss the words of Torah. When you walk on the road, when you get up and when you go to sleep. Now, we say the words of the Shema when we get up in the morning and when we go to sleep at night, but we don't do it as much when we're walking on the road. So that's what I'd like to do today. Please forgive the bouncing around, but I thought it's worth it for the experiment. We read in the Parshat Eikev this week, Vaya Eikev tishma'un el hachukim val hamishpatim asher anochi metzav etchem. It will be as a reward for listening to the chukim and mishpatim, different kinds of mitzvot that I command you. V'shamer lacha Hashem et habrit ve'et hachesed. Hashem will protect for you the covenant and the kindness asher nishba la'avotecha, which He swore to your forefathers.
And we're back. One of the disadvantages of teaching Torah whilst you're walking on the road is that without a book in front of you, you're liable to misquote. The actual verse is, V'haya Eikev tishma'un et hamishpatim ha'eleh. It will be since or because or if you will listen to these laws, ushmartem v'asitem otam, and guard them and perform them, v'shamar Adonai Elohecha lacha et habrit ve'et hachesed asher nishba la'avotecha. And Hashem your God will protect for you the covenant and the kindness that He swore to your forefathers. And the Maggid of Dubna gives some interesting mitzvah investment advice on this. He says, if you keep the mitzvot, Hashem will protect the kindness that He swore to your ancestors. And the idea here, he says, is that Hashem does not always pay us back for our mitzvot in our lifetimes. And sometimes, in fact, He keeps the reward, even, it seems, not even talking about reward in the world to come. We're talking about reward in this world. But the reward that I earn in this world will be given to my children, grandchildren, to my descendants. In fact, that's what Hashem said to Moshe, Shomer chesed lo ahavai lo shomer mitzvotai le'elef dor, that I keep the kindness for those who love me and for those who protect my mitzvot. I keep that for 1,000 generations. Another place it says for 2,000 generations. And what that means is that the credit for the mitzvot that we do continues to be given many, many generations later. And one of the ideas here is explained by the Maggid of Dubna with the story that he says you have an aged father who leaves a substantial amount of money for his young son, but he gives that to a friend of his to take care of the money and to invest the money for his son, and asks him please to support his son. And what the friend does is he takes the son under his wing, he recruits him in his business, and the two of them work together. And the friend, then after a few years, the son's grown up, and he turns to his foster father, and he says, I've just discovered that my father left this legacy for me. He says, what am I doing working for you, making a little bit of money every month? I could take my own money, I could cash out, and I wouldn't need to work. And the relative says to him, you're absolutely right. You could do that, and if you want to, by all means you're welcome to. However, my advice to you is to continue with your job, because that money is well invested and it's earning interest and it's working for you. But if you would stop working and withdraw it now, it wouldn't be so long until you'd used it up. Rather earn your own money, support of your own money, and this will help you when you need it. The Maggid says that's what Hashem's telling us over here. We have great merit stored from our ancestors, from our forefathers, all the way back to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And Hashem is saying, if you will do the mitzvot yourself, Hashem will maintain that kindness, that reward, that chesed that He swore to the ancestors. He will continue to keep that in trust for you. If you do not keep the mitzvot, you may things may still go very good for you. You may still have a blessed life. But that blessed life will not be what you have earned yourself. It'll be using up what came in generations before you. And then, God forbid, the time may come that you need that and it doesn't exist for you anymore. So the first idea here is this idea of this chesed, of this reward being preserved for future generations. I remember of a Pesach Krohn once saying that a person sometimes gets frustrated that they've really put an effort and tried and done a lot, and they're not seeing blessing in their lives. And he says, what would you rather have? Would you rather that you had an easy time now, or that your grandson was saved from a car crash 50 years from today? So that's this first idea, that our mitzvot are not always paid to us, but they go for future generations. Rabbi Chaim Shmulevitz takes it a little bit further, and he says the longer you go without cashing in your mitzvot, the greater the reward becomes. In fact, the reward becomes greater and greater. It accumulates. If you would, so to speak, cash out your mitzvot immediately, you'd be paid a certain amount. But if the reward's only paid 100 years from now, it's much greater than the reward that's paid today. And so, what you can really look is that the mitzvot that you're doing, certainly you're building for yourself. You're building yourself. You're building the world. You're building your family. You're building the future. You're making an investment that grows and grows as time goes by. And the greatest way to do that is to make sure that you protect that. Ushmartim v'asitum otam. Guard the mitzvot. Protect the mitzvot. Treat them as something precious that require great protection, something that we're not casual with. And as a consequence, V'shamar Hashem Elokecha et habrit v'et hachesed asher nishba la'avotecha. Hashem in turn will protect that reward. He will make sure that not a bit of it is lost, that in fact the contrary, it increases, it gains momentum, have more and more, as He swore to your forefathers. And that chesed, please God, will be there for us when we need it. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Actually, one final thought on the idea of discussing Torah when you walk on the way. The truth is, you are certainly much more focused, and the time is much more productive when you are studying Torah in the shul, in the Beit Midrash, in the yeshiva, where you have a time and a place and a set order and schedule. You can achieve a lot more with that time. However, the advantage of studying Torah when you walk is that you are generally a little more free, you're a little more free thinking, but more importantly, it's the idea that the Torah can permeate your entire life, that Torah fills up your life, not only when you've set aside those designated times for it, not only when you are, so to speak, working in your Torah, but that Torah becomes a part of who you are, a part of the way you live, of your very conversation.